Hello everyone, Namaste. This is Surendra Shah from Nepal. I served Nepal police for 30 years and then retired in 2017. After retirement, I served as a security advisor to the Home Minister of Nepal. Currently, I'm working as a senior fellow at Niti Foundation. This is one of the think tank in Nepal. I'd like to share my policing experiences and how Nepal police fought with the insurgency, and at the same time they had to deal with the regular law enforcement duties. Every state, the ideal role is to protect their people. Therefore, they have different mechanisms, different instruments. Among them, police is one of the major law enforcement agency in the state to enforce law, to protect life, property, and the rights of the citizens. Before going into the matter, just I would like to little bit elaborate on the context of the Maoist armed conflict. In the modern history of Nepal, Nepal police was established in 1951, right after Rana regime was abolished. If you see in the political side, Nepal was a Hindu kingdom, and in 1990, Nepal witnessed a people's uprising to establish the democracy. After this movement, Nepal re-established the democracy with main two pillars. One is constitutional monarchy and the multi-party system. We went through a few general elections, but in 1996, small faction of the Communist Party, they presented 40 points demand to the Prime Minister, giving the ultimatum of 2 weeks. If not fulfilled, they will have the armed insurrection. They presented on the 4th of February 1996, but before the 2 weeks, on 13th of February 1996, the Maoists started their so-called People's War, attacking different remote police stations in 4 different districts. After they start the armed conflict and they attack the police stations, police has to deal with it alone, because Nepal police is a leading law enforcement agency in Nepal. They had to act upon any crime. Therefore, Nepal police was mobilized to curb the Maoist activities. Initially, until we can say 2001, the Maoist insurgency was in low intensity because they were more focusing on the villages. They were killing the chieftains of the villages. They were attacking government offices which are located in the village, and if there are schools they don't like, they attacked. So it was a very village-oriented activity until 2001. Nepal police is not trained for the counter-insurgency, or very poorly trained on this area, and we didn't have any law which will give us the special power to control the insurgency, and we fought with a very preliminary, very primary weaponry system. Therefore, we lost many of our soldiers, officers in the armed conflict. In 2001 November, they attacked one of the army base in west part of Nepal, and they looted all the arms, very modern arms and ammunitions from the army. And this insurgency took a new turn with the more robust attacks, and even the district headquarters they attacked, or the more urban areas they were coming in from the villages. So it went from 2001 to 6. During this time, when Nepal army was mobilized to tackle with the insurgency, the Nepal government formed a unified command under the leadership of the Nepalese army. All the security forces, it's Nepal Police Force, Nepal Armed Police Force, National Investigation Department, Intelligence, all of them, they mobilized under the army umbrella. In 2001, the popular King Virendra was killed in the royal massacre, and then his brother Gyanendra took over. The new king had a different attitude than his brother, and he was trying to take more power to him. And finally, he suspended the sitting parliament and took over all the power to him. That step of the king pushed the political parties, 7 political parties, towards the Maoist. And the political parties and the Maoists, they forged a deal or agreement in 2005 in India. This deal or agreement is popularly known as the 12-point agreement. After agreement in November, the Maoists and all the political parties, they waged a popular movement against the active monarchy for 19 days from April 6, 2006. And finally, the king had to reinstate the suspended parliament and handed over the powers to the political parties, including Maoists. Now I'll just explain a little bit of what the Nepal police paid in the insurgency, fighting with it. So Nepal police lost almost 1,500 police officers, many more injured, and 768 police posts were damaged by the Maoists in the villages, especially in the remote areas, and 1,100 police units out of 2,300. Almost 50% of the police units, they were merged or moved toward the urban area or the district headquarters, leaving the remote areas behind where obviously the Maoists made their stronghold. The major challenge for the police to combat the counterinsurgency were basically 4. Number 1 is law enforcement mindset. Police is made for the law enforcement, crime control, working with the community. And number 2 issue is the less or no training to the police officers on the counterinsurgency. Number 3 is the no legal instrument or mechanism to counter the insurgency. Number 4 is the very outdated weapon system. There were 4 major challenges for the Nepal police initially. Now I would like to share my experiences when I was a district commander of one of the very sensitive districts of Nepal. After completing my tenure in United Nations headquarters from 2001 to 2004, I was deputed to this district for 2 years, from 2004 to 2006. This district has a very peculiar scenario. Number 1, the Chittagong is home district of the Maoist commander Prachanda, who later became Prime Minister of Nepal 2 times, and now he is chair of the ruling Nepal Communist Party. And this was also the home district of Bahadur. He is the military strategist of the Maoist. He is currently Home Minister of Nepal. Number 2 is the district intelligence officer was killed by the Maoists before I went to the district. For 10 days, he was killed. And the chief of the district police office, he was absent for 2 months. This deputy was acting as a chief. And the chief district officer of the Chittagong, he is actually the administrative chief of the district of Nepal. So he used to live inside the army barrack. And then out of 23 police units in the Chittagong district, 13 were merged or moved to the district headquarters, leaving villages vacant. So this was a scenario of the district when I arrived to Chittagong. I still remember when I landed to the local airport in Chittagong, there was a big explosion nearby the airport. I thought maybe it's a regular thing, but when I reached my office, district police office, and I was changing to my dress, uniform. Then there was a big explosion to one of the government office, that was agriculture office. Beside the district police office, they blew up the gate of the district agriculture office. Then I realized these two explosions were to intimidate me and threaten me to be quiet and don't act against the Maoists. Chitong is in the crossroad of Nepal. It's the center of the Nepal. The east-west highway and the south to north highway to capital, it crosses in the Chitong district. That's why it's a very important supply line for all the movement for Nepal, especially the capital, number one. And then the situation was, police is basically, it works with the community and the people. I found it very sort of, isolated, because the Unified Command has ordered us not to go out of the perimeter of the district headquarters without their permission. Number two is, there were no elected officials in the local governments because no election was held there at that time in the Maoist period. You all can imagine, after knowing all the facts about the security situations and parameters of the district and sensitivity of the district, it was very sensitive, and the Maoist insurgency was on its peak. So the security situation was very weak and fragile. Police had two different roles to manage it in this time. One is to have a counter-insurgency operations against the Maoists and have the general law and order for all the community in the district. We have to work with them, we have to partner with them, we have to provide the security and safety to the people. So the security situation, sensitivity of the district, and these two different operations, two different functions, to balance these functions and maintain the security, I came up with the 3 C's. 3 C's means the command, community, and coordination. First of all, I evaluated the security situation and our strength and weaknesses in the district. I discussed with all the fellow officers, different rank and files of the police officers, different stakeholders, other security agencies, other people who are around the police. They were in the position to suggest the police or to give the fact. That's why I evaluated the situation and discussed with the different people. And then I came up with the 3 C. Command is very important for the forces. Number 2 is the community. Police has to work with the community to have the law and order. And the coordination is the biggest part. We had to coordinate not only with the law and order stakeholders, but the counter-insurgency stakeholders also. That's why the coordination was also very important. That's why I came up with these 3 C. The first C is command. In Chitong districts, I had more than 400 police officers under me in different units. The officers, the working there, were very much intimidated by the Maoist actions. They are fearful, they were not that much organized because their commander was missing for 2 months. My first and the foremost responsibility was how I can bring them together, how I can bring as a team together. So it was my first responsibility. So I discussed with them, I briefed them on the different issues, and I reorganized their activities and the functions so that I can make effective intelligence, effective investigation, and the community engagement. I brought together the intelligence network, and it was on the place. And then we started few activities against Maoists and against the other criminals also, for the law and order. So it came up with the result. Whenever the police officer, they saw the result, then they trusted me, and the team spirit, it came up with very strongly. When the Maoists targeted me to kill, they were able to kill my bodyguard. So when a very junior officer was killed, The police officers in the office, they were all ready to fight and go and find them. So it was sort of sporadic. Their emotions, they come up. They had to fight with the Maoists. So they had to get their, revenge of whatever happened. But I came to the office and I just discussed with them. I calmed them down. I promised them that I will bring that guy in 1 month behind the bar. Fortunately, on the 30th day, I promised, we had encountered that guy and he was killed. He shoot our boys also, but he was killed. And he was with the pistol and the ammunition. After the, some positive results and working together, there was a really team spirit in the district police office. And the second C is community. Policing is very local phenomenon. Police has to work with the community, with the people where they work for the law and order. Due to Maoist insurgency, the people, they were very much fearful and they were very much threatened, intimidated by the Maoist activities. There are a few reasons. Because you can see, the chief district officer, he was himself living in the army barrack. How the people, they can feel secure. Number one, 11 out of 23 police units were merged or moved. Then when the police themselves, they feel insecure and they leave the villages, how the people, they can feel safe. So the level of fear was very high. Number two is the local officials were not in the place because there was no local election due to the Maoist problem. Therefore, the local body, they were absent. So as I mentioned, the police has to work with the community. But the community were very much fearful and they didn't want to work with the police. They wanted to, not seen with the police because Maoist activists, they threatened them not to support police, not to inform police. That's why there was one barrier, sort of isolation to the police from the community. So one of the major responsibility then is how I can reach out to the community. Then I tried to many NGOs, many CSOs, other development organizations. Nobody was ready to talk to police. Even they refused to meet us. Then eventually, after long research and long work, I came in contact with the women NGOs. There were 6 women NGOs. We formalized the committee and then I was patron of this committee. So we started working. We had good opportunity to reach out the community through these NGOs. We visited different office, different community, different houses, different problematic areas. Then it was the other community members also seeing us with their friends, their community members. Then other people were also a bit comfortable to talk with us. Number one, I felt that women are more daring than men. That was the lesson I learned because no men NGOs were ready to help us to work together, but the women NGOs, they were ready to work on. Number 2, community engagement. I started the school liaison program. Police officers, they go to the schools for 1 hour or sometime they just speak about the police, speak about social crime, how they can keep them away from the drugs, how they can keep away from other crimes. So this is sort of, just letting them know about the policing and the police activities, social crimes. I started with my own lecture. I went myself to one school and I had one good lecture for more than 100 students. They liked very much. But we had an incident after that class. In the night of that day, there was an explosion in the school. So Maoists were threatened that police is approaching the school. That's why they wanted to, intimidate school children. Then I stopped that because of us, those people were, in the trouble. And then we had also one problem of the street children. There are these orphans or the boys or girls, they ran away from the houses, they go and live in the street. So it was a issue because they were involved in the dacoity, burglary, different type of activity. I worked with the business community and we established a rehabilitation center for the street children, and we named it Hamro Ghar. That's our house. This house rehabilitation center is still there, and they have their own house now, and it's very established, and it's serving those street children very well. Many of them they studied well, and they are in the different jobs. It's going very well. So that was another community engagement program. It was very much successful, and it was helpful to the community there. That's how the community saw us as a friend. And third C is coordination. The coordination is very complex function in the management, in normal time also. But the police had at that time two hats. One is general law and order hat, another is counterinsurgency. So government has mobilized Nepalese army and all the security forces as a unified command under the leadership of the Royal Nepalese Army. In that way, Nepalese Army was commander in one hat. That's counterinsurgency fight. So you can imagine the coordination itself is complex, but when we have two hats, two different bosses, you have very different and difficult situation to coordinate. But fortunately, I managed to work very closely with all the stakeholders, and the coordination was very good. We had very successful joint operations with the Nepalese Army and other success in the different criminal investigation cases. So coordination was complex, but I think I managed very well. I found the coordination and working together and bringing stakeholders together, all who are affected or who can work, and convince them, do dialogue, work with them, discuss with them, meet them. That helps us to come to the common minimum ground, so from where we can work and we can solve the problem. So I learned there, coordination is the best tool if you want to fight a complex issue. This conflict was about to come to the end, and then after the mass uprising and the king handed over the power to the political parties and the Maoists, the police had different challenges. When we were fighting to the Maoists, we were fighting together in the unified command. But after the conflict was over, or the post-conflict situation, the Nepal police was only left behind to deal with the post-conflict security situations. And this is a very critical moment. We have the loss of the trust. The people, they have no trust to the government, and the police is also one of the organ of the government. And then very low morale of the police, because they thought maybe they lost the war, because they were fighting for one regime before. That regime has gone. Now the new regime is there. The emergence of many armed groups. So because of this culture of violence was introduced in the Nepalese society, all the interest groups, they were trying to use the violence to get their whatever they wanted in the political. So the emergence, more than 100 armed groups were active at that time, and the people were very insensitive towards the violence, because they have seen everything. killing of the people, military men, people. So the society became more sort of culture of violence was there. Then sort of people were, general disobedience. They didn't want to follow our laws because they think it's the law from the previous regime. We don't have to follow it. Further, there were other challenges such as increase in the petty crime and the connection of the international criminal gangs to some of the armed outfits so that they can do the kidnapping and extortion. It was not common before, but after post-conflict we had many extortion and kidnapping cases. Then the politically motivated, interference. This was some sort of, increased the corruption and the impunity. After the, post-conflict, police took some strategies how to manage the security and how to gain the trust of the people, which is very important for the police. So for the post-conflict situation, the major thing we did, number one thing was to re-establish the merged or the moved units in the remote villages. Number two is to construct or to maintain the damaged police units during the conflict. Number three is to train or orient police officers as per the new political change or the new system about the training and education for the police officers. And most important, another thing, number four, the community engagement. How we can do that, which is very important. We had to organize different dialogue forums, different NGOs, different government agencies, local people, civil society, human rights organizations. So we had round and round of dialogues to make the law and order in the district and the community. So that really enhanced the relation among the police and the different stakeholders, community engagement. Gradually we approached the community and re-established the community police centers. We had almost 200 community police centers before the conflict. So during the conflict we had to all withdraw them, but we re-established again them in the community. They are very good in the community and they were very welcomed by the community. So we did that. And legal framework for the new crimes like kidnapping and extortion was new crime for us that time. So we had to go with the law, and we had law that to control, and it worked well. I was very nervous when I was re-establishing 1,100 police units back to the community. I was asking question to me, when we go back to the community now, villages, maybe they would have some question to us that when our security was not good, we were very much scared with the Maoist. You left us alone. Now there is no Maoist. There is no Maoist problem, and you are back in the community. I was really nervous on that. But fortunately, out of more than 1,000 units, we were able to establish 95% of the units back in the community. 95% areas, really the community welcomed police back. But in 5%, they were not comfortable. So these are the situations when you have to really think hard to how our policy can impact people and how they will welcome or they will against our policy. And the reconstruction aspect in Nepal, We had a Nepal Trust fund. It was helped by the different donor countries. Many countries, they helped us, helped Nepal to rebuild. Among other infrastructures, they also helped to build our damaged police units. We have to transform our police from fighting mode to the right control. So with the help of different these activities, our post-conflict situation we handle and we carry on. I joined police in 1987 when there was absolute monarchy in Nepal. And when I was retired in 2017, Nepal is a republic country. So I have seen many political changes in my police career. What I experienced is police in the different changes, conflict and peace. Police is very crucial element of the state and the communities, because police are the one, after big political change, they have to go on the street and maintain law and order. The main quality of the police, they strive to support the people and the community. That's why the regime change did make that difference, because we are working with the Nepalese people. Although there are bad apples also. So in police also, it's a big organization. We have some human rights violators, some are corrupt people, but the organization did take the action against them. We had range of change, political changes, from monarchy to republic country. But police, they were always responsible, whether it's conflict, whether post-conflict or the peace. That's why I feel proud of being policeman.